Hi everyone, I've just decided to put this video together so that it gives you some understanding of who I am and what I stand for and why I'm standing for council. I'm a family man. I've been married to Susie for 30 years and we were blessed with 6 beautiful children, 3 boys and 3 girls. This is when I was a soccer coach at Bateman's Bay. I have been a soccer coach in Singleton and also as a soccer coach at Kempsey. As you might understand, I really do love the game of soccer. This is my daughter's wonderful riding school that was being developed on our property here at Bulga. I have assisted her in doing a lot of the work that's involved with setting up something as unique as this, and I've been very proud of the achievements of this school and how it has contributed to the community. I'm also very proud of my Indigenous heritage. I didn't even know that we were of an Aboriginal descent until we discussed it with my dad when I was in my 40s. We found out with those discussions that he would have actually been part of the stolen generation if it wasn't for the tenacity of his mum at the time and moving their family around. I do have very specific concepts that I believe I would love to talk to the Aboriginal community about in relation to a restorative community cooperative, and this is something I'm very passionate about. I also come from a very proud coal mining family. My dad and my other brothers worked alongside me at different times within the underground coal mines in the Bargarang Valley. This is an example of where an area can prosper from mining and also stay a safe, healthy community and prosper enormously. This is the War Memorial at Bulga, which I personally orchestrated the restoration of. There were some local businesses that helped enormously, and we came up with a great result where we were able to have annual Anzac services after its restoration. This is Singleton Pony Club on a busy day. It's obviously a huge contributor to our community. I was Vice President there for 3 years and thoroughly enjoyed my interaction with the committee. They are a passionate group of people that just have the whole community at heart. We even hosted the Burrumbutty hay runners during the drought. There was something on the order of 200 truckies with their families. We were able to feed them and give them a good time. They were very, very appreciative of our efforts. Living in a rural area, we experience all sorts of things, like the drought, which was quite devastating. We also experienced the recent fires. This is a photo of one at Bulga, and this is another one showing the hills at the back of Mirabadale. And even recently, the flooding. It makes it tough times for our rural communities, but we band together to bring the community back together and to be functional again. Here is a map of our LGA. It is a significant rural and mining area. Both these sectors have contributed enormously to the wealth and well-being of our community, but currently I believe the standard of mining within the region has impacted it negatively, and we need to work on new ideas and ways of helping reduce that impact. I do believe we can do that collectively, and I believe we can see a prosperous and healthy future. This is a photo of Singleton after the floods, unfortunately returning to some sort of normality. Now I'll talk about why I want to become your councillor. Here's a satellite photo of Singleton in the red, and the rest of the white and grey is obviously the open cut mining that is in this region, which is excessive. If these mines had remained underground as they were many years ago, I believe that we wouldn't get anywhere near the amount of air pollution and particulates that are now destroying the health and well-being of our community. This is why 8,000 to 10,000 people travel into our LGA each day for employment, but will not live here and will not expose their families to this level of pollution. We need to reconsider how we're doing things. This is an example of how mining shouldn't be done. To say this has been done through appropriate planning and proper environmental science applied is just ridiculous. There is no way that this situation can't be explained in any other way than corruption at its highest level due to greed and money from the New South Wales government. For too long, our rural communities have been the sacrificial lambs to this open cut mining madness. We've seen Bulga an enormous threat. We've seen areas like Camberwell and Warkworth almost completely destroyed by this excessive amount of open cut mining. Here is the Bulga community fighting hard to try and save Wallaby Scrub Road. Warkworth mine should never have been approved. You can see the dust from the mountain emanating out of the mine towards Singleton. There were very stringent conditions in the original expansion of this mine that was meant to protect Bulga, and this is some of the area that was meant to be protected. There was ministerial agreement set aside, Wallaby Scrub Road was meant to be kept, and now everything you see is going to turn into this. It's just disgusting. This whole process of planning and IPC meetings has been laid to waste because of the very stringent conditions that were set in place originally in the first place. The government changed the goalposts. I believe there was considerable corruption in the sale of Wallaby Scrub Road, and there was an enormous amount of pressure on our council who was standing by Bulga to change their decision. Each time I went to an IPC meeting, I spoke about the pollution that was going to affect a major part of Singleton. I wasn't just focused on our Bulga community and other communities. Although the community fought hard to save Wallaby Scrub Road, it was sold. And then I realised how dangerous it had made the Warkworth Mount Thorley intersection. I sent emails to Michael Johnson, who ultimately did back to me to some degree. Not that we really achieved any change, but I did contact Singleton Council and the GM, and no one ever got back to me. I'm really disgusted with this, and even with raising this locally on Facebook recently, I was told by another councillor that this is not a council matter. Anything that impacts the safety of our community, whether you live here, visit here or work here, I believe is part of council's responsibility. They can represent us, they can ring state members, and they can ring federal members depending on who controls that particular asset in our community. It's our home, we want it protected. That's what I will be doing. Warkworth's Yancoal mine think little of producing as much dust as they like, which is impacting Bulga on this still day. When the wind blows from the south-southwest, it impacts Singleton directly, and even goes further down towards Branxton and the Lower Hunter. Even recently the mine's got approval to dump enormous amounts of water into the flood zones, and this impacted the community considerably, where Singleton almost flooded. When Warkworth mine was approved, they had to put VPA money aside, which is in the order of $11 million. I put two projects into Singleton Council. One was an upgrade to the car parking area and entry to the National Park for everyone to use. It was endorsed initially, but I haven't heard anything since for the last 18 months. This is another project that I put forward as well, which is a sports complex for the Bulga area that could also be used by Putty, Broke and beyond. It's just very, very difficult for people that live in rural communities to take advantage of these sorts of things within Singleton when you have a 40, 60, 80k return trip and have to go there 3 times a week to make it worthwhile. New England Highway is simply dangerous. We've had a lot of deaths on our roads in the community in the last 5 years. What we've got to ask ourselves is, what is the state and federal government doing when they build a bypass at Scone that they don't want, that Muswellbrook is already ahead of us in regards to their bypass, and they don't have the volume of traffic that Singleton does? Why has Singleton been left behind, and why is it only now that we're getting one? The government have the statistics, they have the traffic studies, they have all that they need to make these decisions, and they're not. We need to be better represented. And while this is not directly a council matter, it is something that I believe the councillors can take to the state and federal governments and make them know that we're not happy. There needs to be significant input into the route of this bypass, listened to by Traffic New South Wales, so they don't create another debacle like they have with other projects they've done in our LGA. When we do finally get funding in this area, I believe it's not spent wisely. The town upgrade, which if you could call it that, created ridiculous car parking. Most of us have large four-wheel drives and family vehicles. Even the lighting, I don't believe, was in character with the town, and much money was wasted. Here's another example in our shire. Millions of dollars spent on the hole in the wall, months of disruption to traffic, and then put back the same. This is just ludicrousy. Why isn't there dual lanes going through there? Why don't we have an 80k zone potentially? And why wasn't the intersection further up that goes into Mason Dew improved? There should be a joining lane and a turning lane. You know, look at the ridiculous footpath. Who uses that footpath? Maybe 5 people a week? It is just a joke. It could have been easily changed and made much safer. This is also something that I'm very passionate about. I am a freedom fighter. I am not an anti-vaxxer. Some of our children chose to get vaxxed. We did not, but we don't fight and argue about it. I don't believe council is a place where New South Wales mandates should be pushed and good local businesses put under pressure from council, which almost seems to be some sort of political move, rather than allowing them just to make a freedom of choice like everyone else, carry out their business accordingly, and really just serve the community in a very special way like they have for so many years. This has been made a political issue and it's just simply wrong. I've been part of Hunter Renewal for quite some time now and attended different meetings in our shire. I do have specific plans to see us utilise the Port of Newcastle much better. If we upgrade our roads and our rail, I believe the council should be looking at putting land aside to allow for new manufacturing opportunities that can present themselves. By making sure our roads and our rail infrastructure is planned accordingly and upgraded, we can see this actually happen. We can introduce new manufacturing and new R&D and all sorts of new jobs into the area. There is a huge demand for housing in our area, and currently it is exceptionally expensive. It's almost out of reach of many people to even consider getting into their own home, and I just believe this is un-Australian. Public housing in the past has been substandard and should not be. It can be done in a quality way and create quality suburbs and areas that make people that live in these areas feel a valued part of the community. There's an absolute huge demand in this area. Now I want to raise something with this community that is my passion to see change. We have a pandemic of sleep debt in our society, which makes COVID look like a sneeze. Sleep debt is the #1 health problem worldwide. Proper sleep is the true foundation of good health and well-being. Sleep debt is contributing to the accidents on our road and creating an enormous safety issue within our own society. It is the precursor to very serious other illnesses because it also will deplete our immune system, which makes us vulnerable to many of the major diseases that we see within our society. It is the precursor to things like mental illness, which is on the increase considerably, and I believe sleep debt is a major contributor to that. It changes our personalities to the point that we don't cope. The very sad part of it is a lot of people that are experiencing this type of sleep debt and mental changes don't realise it themselves. It is most often the loved ones that experience the sleep debt and recognise the changes in someone's personality. While we want to ignore this problem, it is a problem that will not go away unless we address it accordingly. It is now starting to affect our children at schools, with children and pupils staying awake late tonight with electronics. It's another issue that we need to embrace. We need to really understand the importance of sleep, and we need to educate our community in a much broader way. Unsustainable rosters like 12-hour rosters have been introduced by mining and also by the government to reduce labour, to reduce it by as much as 20% to save money. This is purely driven by greed. I believe it is very evident that deals were done behind closed doors, and now we need to see a collective stand between unions that represent our workers and the community to bring about this change that is seriously needed within our society. Trying to mix 12-hour rosters with work health and safety is like trying to mix water with oil. It just doesn't happen. In the past, I have sent and spoke to mine inspectors, mine regulators, mine managers, our politicians and unions, and little has changed. I want to hold a seminar across our LGA and beyond called It's About Time. With the community's help, I believe we can make this change happen. With the coming elections, I believe age comes with experience. I've exposed and fought against corruption at all levels within our society. With your help, I will keep fighting. I do believe I am a problem solver, and I will make a significant contribution to our LGA. I will be honest, transparent and proactive. I want to see our LGA receive appropriate funding based on our significant contribution to New South Wales Treasury instead of the trickle we currently receive. I want to be part of change to bring our community back to one that is safe, one where we can have a lot of fun and where we can live healthily and see this whole area prosper with mining, and also look at other ways to prop up this beautiful, beautiful valley that we live in. Thank you for watching.